Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of the Big Ten Watchdog News podcast. I am your host, I'm Graham Dinas.
And I'm Taylor Seamer.
This is episode 8. The Maryland Minnesota game just wrapped up on Thursday night of the Big Ten tournament. So, second round Thursday is over. And today's episode, it's going to be a quickie. We're going to give you all of our thoughts from all the four games today and then preview the four games tomorrow. We'll do this again tomorrow night and then Saturday night, and then we'll finish this stretch up with our Monday Selection Sunday special. All right. Before we get into the games today, though, there were the playing games played on Wednesday, in which Minnesota knocked off Nebraska, which was absurd. I mean, it wasn't that absurd, but unexpected, you could say. And then,
Nebraska had been playing well everywhere of late, and so had Minnesota at home. But for that to happen in the way that it did, I thought was kind of surprising.
I think Nebraska was the only team Minnesota could have beaten, if you like realistically looking at it. But
Yeah, I mean, they match up pretty well. So, and if you can stop Greasel and Tominaga, you have a good chance, which is exactly what they did.
But the first game of the tournament was Wisconsin Ohio State, which if you would have told anyone that was a play-in game on a Wednesday, they'd tell you were crazy. Wisconsin was on the bubble. They were in my next four out whenever we had filmed our preview, and then they lost to Ohio State, which I think effectively kicks them out of the field. I know a lot of people were higher on them than I was initially, but I think regardless, they're probably not going to end up making it.
Yeah, I thought they were out already. Anyways, they needed probably 3 wins, maybe four to be in the field. The only reason they were there to begin with was because of their quad one record, which I think they were 6-7 or whatever going in. But again, quad one is such a weird metric that all the Wisconsin quad one wins were kind of like suspect. Like you could tell they weren't really that good of a basketball team to be able to be on the bubble in the first place, but they were there simply because of that metric. But I think, yeah, this game, their hopes are completely gone.
Yeah. And they'll still be watching on Selection Sunday. Wisconsin fans, you do have a chance, albeit very slim,
They
but
need a lot of help.
they do. And you could say that for now, a couple of teams in the Big Ten, one of which is now your faithful Michigan Wolverines, who lost in our 11 a.m. Central game, 62-50 to the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Both of these teams were desperately in need of a win here. The winner was probably in, the loser was probably out, and Rutgers was the better team for at least most of the game today. Michigan had was it the entire second half, or was it just a long period in the second half where they went 1 of 17 with the one bucket being the Hunter corner three?
It was the vast majority of the second half.
Until the game was effectively out of reach.
Well, yeah, until Hunter hit another three with maybe 4 minutes to go to cut it to get it, closer. Still would have had a lot of work to do, and then they made two other buckets the rest of the entire game, both of which were in garbage time, so they don't even really count.
This was absolutely one of Rutgers' best games in the last month, I would say, especially on the defensive end, holding you guys to the 50 spot. Kind of a reversal of the game that was played a couple weeks ago whenever you guys went into the rack and beat them 58-45. Just kind of you're seeing the other side of this game now. So yeah, Derek Simpson was kind of big for them offensively. They benched Andre Hyatt and brought him into the lineup, and that was very important. And so now they have a pretty good chance to be in at least the first four. Again, they are certainly in with a win tomorrow against Purdue. As long as they don't get just drastically blown out, they're probably in regardless. Michigan, on the other hand, very, very bleak, I will say. Just needs a lot of help. What are your thoughts? I just on anything.
Oh, well, that could get into something we don't have time for today, sadly. But in general, I think they're probably out. They needed this. If they got this one, I thought they would be in. Without it, they need a lot of help. which would have been the same situation for Rutgers. I think without it, they would be out. And then now that they got it and the way that they got it, I think they'll be in. As for the Michigan team as a whole, not our best game, obviously. I mean, only 50 points and effectively 2 field goals the entire second half, which were both threes by your largest man on the court, which is not exactly how you want to run an offense. I didn't have a problem with the defense. It was just no offensive execution. But yeah, now we look forward to Sunday, see if by the grace of God, we can make it into the tournament.
Draw a solid 2 seed in the NIT, get a 2-7 against Bradley, probably drop that one.
I don't know. I don't know if the Valley can hold up against the Big Ten, but
I just don't see this Michigan team being particularly interested in an NIT game.
I think they'll take it. But I don't know if
I think they'll accept the bid. I don't see Hunter does not want to play that game. I guarantee.
I think they'll win the 2. I think they'll win the 2 home games or whatever it is, and then after that, when they go on the road again, they'll just give up like they did today.
I could just see it being I don't know. I don't know if I see them just like giving full effort. Like obviously they're good enough to win those games, but just with it being the NIT.
I'm just hoping that today's poor performance from Kobe allows him to come back and somehow we can convince Jet that the NBA wants him. And maybe this team will be better next year.
I think they're both gone, if I had to guess.
That's just such a bad. I mean, Kobe could be a lottery pick if he waits till next year, or he could be a late first round or second rounder this year.
Probably a first rounder this year, yeah. So
well, he could be a lottery if he wanted to go next year and he can make a quick bag here next year and then leave and go make millions. No need to go make 3 million this year when you can go make 15 million after next year. So that's just my thought.
So yeah, Michigan probably out. Rutgers looking pretty good. We move along to our next game, Ohio State and Iowa, where Ohio State pulls off another upset. I mean, the first one wasn't a huge upset. This was a big upset, beating Iowa 73-69. And this game was just brutal to watch. A lot of just really sloppy basketball. Iowa shot below 25% from 3, just not their best game at all. And the opposite of last year. Now they're going to get a break heading into March Madness. We'll see if it changes anything because, like we've mentioned before, they got bounced in the first round by Richmond. Ohio State didn't play particularly well even today. They just played good enough to stay alive in what was just a complete muck-it-up fest. Do you think that they can keep on winning and beat Michigan State tomorrow and have a chance to play Purdue?
I think Rutgers, they can beat Michigan State tomorrow on a neutral court, and with how Ohio State has been playing. If they played like this all year, they could have got the double bye and been at the waiting on some team like Michigan State is tomorrow. But I think it's definitely possible they win. Playing 3 days in a row now is going to be tough, I think. But I don't think that it's impossible for Ohio State to beat Michigan State, especially if Michigan State doesn't come out ready to play.
They have the talent, and we've said this before. It's just, even now, they've won 2 games against tournament level teams, and they don't look great. The sum of the parts is greater than what they put forth. So it's just not great to watch. We'll see. Again, they'll play Michigan State tomorrow at 1:30, roughly 25 minutes after the 11 o'clock game Central Time. What are your thoughts on Iowa heading into the tournament? Is this good, get some rest, or is this a sign that potentially ominous things are to come?
I think this is pretty much what they can expect come tournament time. They're going to be obviously heavily reliant upon the 3, and if they have another game like this, they could get bounced first round. But if they have multiple games that are the exact opposite of this game, they could make a run all the way to the first weekend of April. I mean, that's just how this team goes. So if you get the good part of the team, they're going deep. If you get the bad part of the team, they're getting bounced. It's that simple for this Iowa team.
And I should note, no bracket today. I will have a bracket for tomorrow's podcast, and we'll just for seeding purposes, there will be a link to that in the description. Um, Moving on to the next game, 5:30 Central. Penn State beats my Illinois Fighting Illini 79-76. Um, Penn State is just the kryptonite of this Illinois team, dropping 3 out of 3. It's hard to beat a good team 3 times, but they sure did it. Um, my takeaways from this game are more positive than they probably should be, just because I'm tempering my expectations, but there was a lot of good on the offensive end tonight that I can take, even though just this team somehow manages to expose us in a different way every single time. But offensively, this was our best showing against them. Coleman Hawkins was great tonight. I'll definitely give props to him. Aggressive in the paint, posting up smaller defenders, something he really hasn't done all year. If you get that Coleman Hawkins in March in the tournament, that's going to be massive as long as Matt Meyer can get back on track after he's had this rough stretch of games. And Jaden Epps played a couple minutes because he's coming off of his concussion. Just get him some rest and some practice before the tournament. That will all be massive. I'm not going to say that we're a second weekend team. I'm going to temper expectations.
Good. You better not. You better not. It's been
But
a
this
while.
team
Need I remind you?
No, you don't. Okay. This team absolutely can make the second weekend, and everyone knows this. If they're going to get this 8-9 game, maybe they get a 10. I feel like the 10 gives you a better chance to get to that
It does,
second
yes.
weekend. But this is a team that can beat a 1 seed. They've done it twice now. Rough. I mean, UCLA is a 1. Texas is a 1 adjacent. So you're looking at just good teams that they beat before the new year. But if this team can put together a full stretch, which they haven't managed to do, they can do it. Penn State, on the other hand, very impressed by them. Andrew Funk lit us up for the second time for a 20 ball.
He put
Jalen
you to
Pickett
sleep even.
for the third time, I believe. I think he's done it in every game. He definitely did it at our place. Jalen Pickett had a relatively quiet night compared to the 40 ball he dropped on Valentine's Day, but he still impacted the game with boards, with assists, and with his gravity. I don't know if you saw this. Did you see the booty ball stuff?
I did, and I was going
Okay,
to bring
good.
it up here, but
Okay, good.
I've got to know what was going through his mind when he called it booty ball.
I mean, I feel like that's an accurate representation of what it is. He gets you on the perimeter and he just backs you down all the way to the rim. And I don't know if there's a better way to defend it. The issue with us is every time we play them, they just light us up from 3. So if we come to double, someone's going to be wide open. They're hitting 3 no matter what. So just our kryptonite, and that's why I'm not reading too heavily into this game, because we haven't beat them yet, and this one was the best showing that we've had. But yeah, Penn State probably needs a miracle to not make the tournament at this point. Just need to get absolutely hammered by Northwestern, I would imagine. Even still, probably still in the first 4.
Do you think they're a solid first 4?
I think
Or
for now,
do you think they have a chance to move up or down?
I think they can move up if they beat Northwestern, and maybe even if they challenge Indiana and they play them, or I guess Maryland, either one, play a good game there, that could raise them out of the first 4 even. I think Rutgers, barring a win against Purdue, probably locked in that first 4 as well. But I don't think that they can move out unless if they just get a 30 ball dropped on them by Northwestern. And then our nightcap from the Thursday games, Maryland just takes care of business 70-54 against Minnesota. They did what they were supposed to do against this Minnesota team, not in a road environment. Noted they've lost 1 home game and they've lost 1 neutral site game. All their other losses are road losses, true road losses.
Yeah, but this is exactly what you should do with a team like Minnesota.
That is their only road win in the conference is at the barn in Minneapolis. So
Yeah, and
again.
I think they have pieces that Minnesota can't defend, which is helpful. Even with some guys out or some guys in foul trouble, they've got other guys who can come up. Um, Maryland, though, I'll be looking for what they can do in their next game to really decide if they're built for March or not.
Yeah, absolutely. That game against Indiana, and we'll get into that whenever we talk about our game previews, is going to be the game I'm looking forward to the most for sure tomorrow. Um, but yeah, I mean, they just took care of business. There's really nothing else to say here. This is a game you're supposed to win by double digits. You did it. Move on. Play again tomorrow. All right. Question for you. Which team today impressed you the most?
For me, I think it's got to be Ohio State, even though I think they're on the, clearly on the far outside of the tournament. I think they're the one that has surprised people the most in the last week or two of the regular season. Plus, I mean, the first 2 games of the tournament. I mean, their wins currently aren't really helpful for them or hurtful to the teams they're playing because all of their futures are already set. But just the fact that they're doing this when they have nothing to play for, I think, is what most impressed me.
And we knew that they had this in them the whole season. It was just
Yeah,
to
I just
some
don't know where it
yeah.
was.
Yeah, and it's showing up now in the most important time of the year, but they just dug themselves too deep of a hole. My pick is going to be I was thinking maybe Penn State, but Penn State, I think they've proven that they can do this. I'm gonna say I'm more impressed by Rutgers. Just I know that 62 isn't a historic number offensively, but they played fairly well offensively. It was enough to beat most teams in the conference today with how their defense played, especially.
I'll
So
counterpoint
that'd be my
that
pick.
with I think this is for the same reason you were going to pick Penn State but didn't. This is something that Rutgers had shown earlier in the season that then fell off in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's the difference though, is that Rutgers hasn't shown it recently. Penn State has been they've been cooking as of late. So I mean both teams we have been very, very strong at points, but Rutgers has just lacked that strength here recently, and it's good to see them have it back because we thought that they were the second or third best team in the conference for a good while, and today proved they're still capable of being that team. All right, now we will move to the following segment of the podcast where we will preview the games tomorrow. So starting at 11 a.m., we have the Rutgers-Purdue rematch of the game that took place the day after New Year's. Rutgers won 65-64 at Mackey, held Edie to 19-11. Paul Mulcahy had a good game, 16 with 8 boards and 6 assists. Do you think that this Rutgers team right now has the best chance to beat Purdue before the championship, I'll say, out of Michigan State and Ohio State and Rutgers?
Out of those three,
Yeah,
I would say yes.
I agree.
In general, I would say it's Indiana, in my opinion, but I mean, as they showed through the regular season. But before the championship game, I think Rutgers matches up the best and can probably shoot the best to make up for Purdue shooters or Edie just going off. Would you agree?
I mean Michigan State can light it up. They can shoot the ball, but I think that Rutgers defensively just scares me so much more. Cliff's so long inside. He definitely, I think, does the best job defensively on Zach Edey in the conference. Um, Steve Peichel has the best scheme against Edey and Painter in general. This Rutgers team has just had Purdue's number for the past at least 2 years, and so this is kind of when you're looking and you're in the bottom side of the bracket, like Indiana, like Northwestern, Maryland, us before today. You were hoping that Rutgers ends up at the top because they have a really good chance to win this game. And they match up well. Um, you know that they have the better shot to beat Purdue, and you have the better shot to beat them.
Yeah, I think they have a shot, but I don't think they'll do it. You
I
like you like the Scarlet Knights for
I
tomorrow?
don't I don't want to say that they will win. I would call it a pick 'em. I think it's a coin flip, legitimately. If Rutgers plays how they played today on the defensive end, I think that they can definitely beat this team. And
West Lafayette's
they
not too
have.
far from Chicago.
That's true, but the Scarlet Knight Brigade travels. We'll see about 11 a.m. on a Friday though. That is early and far. Do you think Rutgers? They don't need to win, do they? You don't think?
They don't need to win, but they need a good showing.
I agree. I think
A
as long
20
as
point loss hurts them badly.
yeah, I don't know if a 20-point loss puts them on the hot seat. I would say to where if Florida Atlantic loses in Conference USA, or if you see Clemson, who I believe won tonight, and like Mississippi State and these other teams that are on the outside of the bubble looking in, if they win, then you don't want to be the team that gets bumped out. And so playing a close game here, I don't think that they end up being that team. But if it is a blowout, potentially that could be the case. I don't think that that will be what happens. But you never, this Purdue team is like everyone else, fairly unpredictable. They're good, but are you going to get great or are you going to get solid Purdue? All right, game two will be approximately 25 minutes after game one finishes, and it is Ohio State and Michigan State. They met for the first time on February 12th, where Michigan State held Ohio State to 41 points at home in Columbus. But then they played on this past Saturday, where Michigan State won by 6 at the Breslin Center. In the first game, Ohio State shot 20% from three. No one scored in double digits. Joey Hauser goes for 22 and 8. But then in the second game, you see the other side of the coin. Michigan State just lights it up from three at 60%. And Hauser, Hogard, and Walker all go for at least 15, with Sensabaugh and Bruce Thornton going for 20 each. Just a better showing for Ohio State overall and more indicative of the team that they're showing that they are. It's hard to beat a good team 3 times. Is Ohio State a good team, Taylor?
That's the question I was going to ask you. Is Ohio State a good team? They've shown flashes of late, but I fear that third game in 3 days is going to have them regress back to their mid to late January, early February form.
Yeah, we kind of the wheel picked Michigan State to win the tournament for us. I didn't think that they'd end up playing this game. I just haven't been super impressed with Ohio State in either game, and they've done enough to win both. But it's just they almost blew it against Wisconsin, and then Iowa played pretty poorly today, and they were just good enough. If they play at that level against Michigan State, I think there's a really good chance they don't pull it out. Although Michigan State, just like anyone else, could have an off day as well. And then you could see Ohio State getting a matchup against Purdue, which would be absurd. That would be absurd. So yeah, I'll go with Michigan State in this one, and Rutgers-Michigan State, if that is what it ends up being, would be fun. Purdue-Michigan State round 3 would be just as fun. Got anything else or no?
No, I think you pretty much summed up that matchup pretty well.
Okay, all right. Then Penn State Northwestern. These teams played a week and 2 days ago on the 1st of March. Penn State won by 3 on the road. It was an overtime game with the first of 2 Cam Winter buzzer beaters. Cam Winter, he won co-player of the week last week. He went for 24 in that game. Funk and Lundy combined for 8 3-pointers. Jalen Pickett only 7 points but 11 assists. And that was the Brooks Barnheiser game where he went for almost 20 off the bench. Bowie went for 10. I think Bowie went for 20. I apologize. I think Audige had 10. Do you expect for this one to be similar in that it's a tooth and nail game? Is that the saying? Is that correct?
Yeah, tooth and nail.
Okay.
You have to fight tooth and nail for it.
Yeah. Okay. Continue.
Yeah, considering what I saw today from Penn State from behind the 3 line. Even if that falls off 5 to 10%, they still are hitting 30% of their 3-pointers, which is nothing to shake a stick at. And Northwestern can do the same if Audige and Bowie go off. So I think this game will be close. And maybe, high scoring. We might hit upper 70s, 80s. If both of these teams are lighting it up,
Ooh,
like I know they can.
they can. Well, Penn State definitely can. Northwestern, we'll see which Northwestern we get because
It is completely determined on the Chase Audige
exactly.
day.
He's been kind of down lately, and they've been kind of down lately. They were able to get their win against Rutgers on the last day of the season, but
So maybe he's due.
he could very well be due. This could be the Chase Audige tournament. We don't know. It's not likely, but it is a very distinct possibility.
For their own sake, I'm hoping the Chase Audige tournament comes in the NCAA tournament and not this one, because it would be really cool to see Northwestern go deep.
Yeah, but knowing
and only their second tournament ever.
Knowing Northwestern, the Chase Audige tournament is going to be in the Big Ten, and then they're going to, in a heartbreaking fashion, lose the championship game to Ohio State, who steals the bid from Rutgers after they get blown out by 20 by Purdue.
If that happens, I'll give you my left leg.
Okay.
Take the receipt right now. Clip it. I'll give you my left leg if it's Northwestern Ohio State.
The Big Ten Hoops Podcast official tournament prediction right there. Northwestern heartbreaking fashion loss over Ohio State, but Chase Audige gets the Jerry West loser but most outstanding player of the tournament award. Do you think Penn State needs another win? We asked about Rutgers. Does Penn State need another win, or do you think just don't get blown out and you're good?
I think it's the same situation as Rutgers. I think you're sitting pretty now. Just don't get blown out. A win, I mean, obviously, you can only go up from here, but even a close loss doesn't hurt.
It's awfully convenient that all these Big Ten teams were in the exact same place on the bubble, because the argument is the same for all of them at this point. You had Rutgers and Michigan. Rutgers and Michigan were playing, and regardless of what the outcome was, one was going to be in and one was going to be out. And now you have Rutgers and Penn State are both now at the same spot, both coming off wins where they're likely in if they don't get blown out, and probably going to be in the first 4 games in Dayton. So,
well, I mean, that's just like indicative of how the rest of the Big Ten season went. They're all so close to each other. I mean, there was how many way tie for how many weeks in the tournament or in the Big Ten for second place and 5th place and 8th place. So all the teams are about the same goodness level. So they're all going to be, at the same, hoping for the tournament spot level, and only so many of them can get it.
Yeah. All right. Now we have Maryland, Indiana, the final game of Friday night in the Big Ten tournament. 3-seed Indiana taking on 6-seed Maryland, coming off their win against Minnesota. These teams met on the last day of January. Maryland won at home by 11. In that game, Jameer Young and Dante Scott each went for about 20. TJD went for 18 and 20 rebounds. Do you think TJD takes over this game? Do you think that Maryland contains TJD and has a chance to beat Indiana?
I think they can contain him to below his, 30-pointers that he was putting up there late February against teams like Illinois.
Okay. NIT boy.
Okay, hasn't made the second weekend boy.
Never beat Brad Underwood.
Oh my. Anyways, where was I going with this? TJD, he can be held, but I think they have enough guys. I mean, Hood Schifino can just turn it on at any time. Race Thompson can obviously turn it on at any time. We've seen. So it's not like they have to have TJD, but I still like Indiana in this game because that game from January was before they really figured everything out. And before Trace Jackson Davis decided he wanted to have 30 every night. Instead, he only went for 18. So
with
I think
20 boards, strong 20 boards.
Yeah, I mean, 20 boards is nothing to shake a stick at either, but it doesn't put points on the board. So it puts tallies in a stat sheet, but no points on the board.
Stick backs.
I mean, he only converted less than half of them if all of them came
I mean,
from
they weren't all
his
offensive.
rebounds. I'm just saying.
Um,
I'll take the Hoosiers.
do you think? I think Indiana. Looking at it now, that would be my pick to win this tournament. I feel like they are the team that wants to win this tournament the most. I feel like for no reason in particular. Just this is the team that feels like they need the validation of we're the best team in the Big Ten. We beat Purdue twice. We're going to prove it finally with a win over everyone in this tournament.
Yeah, no, I think they are the best team in the conference. I mean, full stop. They do need to prove it. It'll become a lot easier. I think their only challenge is going to be if they have to face Purdue in the title game, because Purdue does not want to have to lose 3 times to them and listen to that all off season, and it be for a banner. That being said, if Purdue for some reason gets upset, I'm betting the house on Indiana to win the tournament because I don't think anyone else can really stop them when they play their best.
I think they could get a 3-2 if they end up winning the tournament, if they have quality wins. Probably if they beat Purdue for a third time, that would probably get them at least to a 3, maybe a 4 if they don't have to play Purdue. Either way, they're playing to move up the board. They're obviously already in. They're probably going to get they're getting at least one home game and a home game in a white jersey in the tournament. Is this game going to be the best game tomorrow? I think it's the 2 best teams playing each other.
Yeah, but I think that the Penn State Northwestern game might end up being closer down the stretch and might be more, every final second counts. I think late in the game, last 4, 5, 6 minutes, Indiana might pull a lead out here. Still not to say it won't be a good game, but I think if Penn State Northwestern is any semblance of what their last game was, I think that might be the best game tomorrow.
Yeah, I think all these games are probably going to be pretty good. Maryland, Indiana, those are the 2 best teams looking at it. Like if I only got to pick one game to watch, that's probably the one I would pick. Although I agree with you. I think Penn State Northwestern might even be more fun. As a pure basketball fan, I've stated how much I enjoy watching Penn State play, even though they break my heart every time they play us. But it's just a fun style to watch. So yeah, lot of fun left. You got 4 games coming up tomorrow, which will be today, the day that you were listening to this, followed by 2 semis on Saturday and the championship on Sunday at 2:30 Central, leading right into the selection show. So that's what we have left on tap. Like I mentioned before, we will have another podcast coming out tomorrow night recapping the games that we just previewed, and then previewing the following 2 semis, a Saturday show where we will do the same thing effectively. And then on Monday, we will do our NCAA tournament preview in regards to the Big Ten. Make sure that you give the video a like and a subscribe. I know that I normally plug all this in the beginning. I forgot today. We were trying to get right into it and stay under 35 minutes. So like and subscribe to the video. Give us a follow on Twitter and on TikTok. Share with your friends. If you check the link in the bio now, or in the description of this video, there is going to be only one to a link tree because we are going to be on Apple and Spotify for the first time with this episode and for all the remaining episodes. So if you just click on that link, there will be little icons with each app, and clicking on those icons will direct you to your preferred destination. So just making sure that no one is caught off guard by that new system of links in the description. Taylor, got anything before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I think this expansion to Apple and Spotify is going to be great for us. It'll be easier for the listeners if they don't want to have to watch the entire time. They can just listen while they do something else. Basketball related, we've seen only one high seed move on so far in the tournament. And with that being said, every game is a must watch because you never know what's going to happen. it's the Big Ten after all. So I can't wait for
Absolutely.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Probably the best day of Big Ten basketball, maybe outside of last Sunday with all the finish of the regular season. But you got you got arguably the 8 best teams left because they're the ones that have won up to this point. So I'm looking forward to it. And like you mentioned, yeah, it's going to be easier. I'm a YouTube podcast guy, but I know that it's kind of annoying when you have to keep the app open. So if you want to give us a listen, but you are doing something else, you don't want to keep your phone open to the app, Apple or Spotify would definitely be the way to go. So yeah, I guess that would be it for us for this episode number 8 of the Big Ten Watchdog News podcast. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.